You're going to pay me for a service that I'm going to perform. You're going to give me the particulars of her schedule, her habits. I'll act on them accordingly. I won't give you many details on my activities because the less you know, the better for everyone involved.
All right.
Now, I only have a couple of rules that I insist on sticking to. Insist.
Okay, yeah.
If you're caught, if you're implicated in this crime, you are not, under any circumstances, to reveal my identity or participation.
Oh, of course.
If you break this rule, you'll be killed. Do you understand?
Hi everybody, I'm Peter Travers and this is Popcorn, where we tell you what's going on at the movies. And there's a spectacular movie right now with a spectacular performance in it called Killer Joe, and that's the scene you just saw. And we're right here at this moment on high atop the Empire Hotel in Manhattan talking to Killer Joe himself, Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, sir.
Who is this guy? How would you describe him?
Joe.
Joe Cooper.
Let's get into, I mean, the basics are he's a Dallas cop who moonlights as a hitman.
I never get why they put you in Texas movies all the time. You know?
And it's the New York
It's
accent.
just- it is.
It takes a lot of work. And so he's hired, or the guy tries to hire him, a little sort of trailer park trash company, family, wants to hire him to take out their mother. Because they'll get a $50,000 insurance policy if she's removed from this earth, and Joe is just the man to do it, and the way they can get away with it. It does get a little messy. I won't give it away, but Joe, you know, that's the basic what you get from the storyline. But for me, what sort of clicked into Joe was his need for structure and order, and everything must be that way. That is his job. That is his life, basically. And then the want of the one thing he doesn't have, which is family. And that's basically the relationship with the Juno Temple, and sort of it goes from cohabitation to inhabitation of this homestead that he moves into. And that's some of Joe.
It almost sounds, the way you're saying it, that he's robotic in a way, but he's not. He's got charm.
A lot of what with Joe's charm is what he does not say. A lot of, you know, Joe's always in the shadows, and then he reveals a little light. And he's just, he's not teasing at all, but he's not there to reveal himself. He doesn't want to be revelatory. He actually loves sitting in a silence and finding out about the other person he's talking to. He's an investigator as well, so he finds out a lot of the truth with people by what he doesn't say. He lets them sort of hang themselves. And that was part of the joy of being Joe, is everything's underneath, and you can hear it percolating, you can feel it sort of boiling, and you know very early that this is not a man to cross. You know very early that this is a man who can handle this job, but let's do it right. But if it gets loose, you know, Joe doesn't like bad language. Joe doesn't like sloppiness. And if you look at the reason actually he gets destructive, is because he's trying to make order of this sloppy family who's not treating each other correctly. He's very much a moralist, Joe. You know,
In his own way.
in his own way, absolutely.
own
And his
strange
justice is his own street justice, which, you know, you wouldn't want his justice to become an epidemic anywhere. But very clear, everything has a setup, and everything has a reason for what he does. And when he meets Juno, the Dottie character, when Joe meets her, they come together because in a way they're speaking the same language. It's not like they were meant to be, but they're two outcasts. These two, you know, people that live on these two sort of loner outcast individuals that sort of find themselves in this zone that they've always lived alone, they thought, and it's sort of a void. It's a black hole, and they look over and they go, oh, I got a neighbor here. I got a friend. I have a kindred spirit in this black hole that I thought I lived in. And so in there is where I think they sort of find each other and communicate a little bit. He finds a place in a person, in a young woman, in Dottie, that I think that is his, all of a sudden the one thing's pure in his life. For the first time, maybe, you know, and...
In this family where we're seeing Emil Hirsch, who is the one contracting you for this, his father, Thomas Hayden Church, is doing this. Gina Gershon, who is remarkable in her own way as the cliche trailer trash
Yeah.
with a lot of surprises too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give that away, but it does at the end. This movie becomes more violent than you could imagine it being. So much so that it's been rated NC-17.
Yes.
So does that give you pause when that happens? When the rating system says, okay, this is restricted?
My first sort of gut instinct was that it was NC-17 because of the first Joe Dottie scene. That is a really sort of soft, sensual, romantic almost scene. I didn't think it was because of the chicken scene. I thought the chicken...
He says the chicken scene. It's a
I'll-
chicken drumstick. That's all I'm going to
Let's
say.
just leave it at the chicken
Yes,
scene. yeah.
it's a chicken
White
scene.
meat, dark meat. That's the big question.
Actually, it's way more than that.
It is,
but we're
let's
being
leave
good.
it at that for
Okay.
now. So that chicken scene, my feeling with that was, it's so deliberate, and it's set up in the classic comedic sense, in that you have the two comedians or whatever. But why are they funny? Why is it funny? Because you cut to the straight man, Thomas Hayden Church, who's the straight man watching, and I thought those cuts to him shifted the thing into a sort of hyper-real spot that was so deliberate and cheerfully amoral that it was like, oh, okay, that's legal. That's not why it's NC-17. Literally it might be, but with that setup, I just found it, because people laugh at that scene. For
They
a good
could
reason.
laugh.
People do.
But there are violent,
How?
bloodier scenes
Oh,
that
yes.
they don't laugh at.
No.
Because
But I found out that it was because of that chicken scene that we got the NC-17. Now, after I found that out, whether I agree or not, if that's their reason for saying it's NC-17, well then hell yeah, it's NC-17. And no zero pause for me. I talked with Billy, and Billy and I were like,
This is
man,
Billy
let's
Friedkin, the director of this.
Yeah, we were like, well, let's just wear it as a badge.
Yeah.
Plus, we had shown and screened it. He had screened it in Venice and around Europe in some places. Then we also screened it in Austin to rousing applause, to wonderful applause. People just loved it. So, no way could we go back and cut out the intestines of this thing. Cut out if you cut that scene down and lose a lot of shock value down to an R. You make this movie rated R, we would have a whole lot of people that had seen it that would have said, "Are you kidding me? You're going to now put out the R-rated version of that without the thing that made me go, what the
What's that?
you know?"
Yeah.
So we couldn't, and Billy and I were like, and thankfully the producers were as well, we're like, well, let's just wear that NC-17 as a badge and keep it shined and charge forward with that.
But everybody is talking about you now because you're on this hell of a roll. I mean, it's amazing. Last time I talked to you, did Lincoln Lawyer.
Yep.
I thought just a terrific performance in a movie that I think did the unexpected. It just had a lot going for it. And then you go back with Rick Linklater in Bernie,
Yep.
you know, playing this prosecutor again. And then you do Magic Mike, where you're a male stripper and an MC in a Tampa nightclub doing this. Look at you, still smiling over it.
Yeah.
You loved doing that, didn't you?
Oh, it was Bob. He was such a showman. Dallas. He was such a,
Dallas, must be from Texas too.
no last
Who
name
knew?
required.
Right,
You know?
that's it, he's Dallas.
You know, all these characters have a really, really strong identity. And they're all sort of loners. And they're sort of outcasts. They're sort of fringe characters. They're not all anti-heroes, but they live on their own plane. They sort of govern themselves. They have a singular will about where they want to go.
Because everybody that writes about you is saying, well, look, he did this decade of movies with Kate Hudson and Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
And this was it. And now we're finding that's something we saw in the beginning. Because Linklater, that's what we all remember, at least I do, is Dazed and Confused.
Yep.
And you standing there saying, well, you know what you said.
Yeah.
What is it? It's that...
That's what I love about those high school girls.
I get older,
They
they stay the same age.
Great line.
It is.
You know, Rick
yes,
wrote
they
that.
do, you also say. I
Yes.
love that.
Oh, yeah, without...
Yes, they do.
That's very Wooderson. Wooderson would say something and then to himself.
Yeah.
Remember, Wooderson actually stepped out to the curb.
Yeah.
He was talking to friends, but to say that, he like stepped out to the curb, and it was almost like a monologue to the gods, to the ether. And then he confirms with himself. He kind of reverbs. And he goes, "Yes, they did." And he was such a beautiful character. The cheetah has wings and is purple. Okay, sure. You know, I thought the cheetah was just on the ground, and I was You know, shaking hands with the fact that he's a mammal and he can't fly and he's not purple. But then they go, no, yes, he does. They're like, okay.